All right. I know we're still waiting on a few people to come, but I'm happy to see your faces. And let's go ahead and start with prayer. Father God, I just ask that you would be present with our class today, that you would help us to learn techniques that would be able to eventually help us honor you with our lives. Lord, I just ask that you would be with us, enhance our conversation, and help us to honor you. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, my friends. We're clicking through to get a few extra people here. This was an interesting week, wasn't it? A guide to understanding credit scores. How many of you have thought about a credit score prior to this week's readings? A little bit? Not really? Okay, did any of you not even know a credit score existed prior to this week's readings? Mia, you hadn't realized it?
I missed your first question, but could you re-say that again?
What was my first question? Have you thought about your credit score prior to this week's readings?
So the other finance class that we did talked like a lot about credit score. And so I haven't really thought about it for me personally, but through that class, I have thought about it. And they were talking about how it doesn't really matter that much and how you can do a lot of things without it. But I feel like that's also kind of a little bit controversial because some places say that you really need a good credit score to do anything in life. And
Right.
other places like this are like, no, you don't need it. You can do whatever you want without it. It's not that important. Basically, it's a scam.
Well, and our two readings also hit that different idea within that. So think about that. You had two readings that basically contradicted each other for this week's class. What did you take out of the first one? Let's talk about the ultimate guide to understanding credit for kids, teens, and young adults. What were your takeaways from that? Miss Taylor.
That Miss thing is still throwing me off. So I found it interesting that an adult can co-sign on a contract for you if you're underage, and that the student credit cards, I've always heard that those are bad because that's how you get into debt as a student. But the student credit cards have less requirements and stuff. Even though that's how most people get into debt, it's still got less. So I just found that interesting.
So there's a word for that. It's called predatory lending. And predatory, that is the root. I can tell you, I went to college when I was 17 years old, and I walked into the student union, which is like where you have all of the food and all of that. The first week of college, like I had been on campus for one day, and I was given the opportunity to sign up for a Discover credit card, and they gave me a free t-shirt that I really liked the design of, and I had a credit card. And I think it had like a $10,000 limit on it. And there was zero reason that I should have been offered $10,000 as a 17-year-old child. And I was clueless. And so some companies, the colleges have cracked down on it actually because it has contributed to so much debt for students. It's called predatory lending. So anyway, Ms. Wren, did you have a hand up? Okay. So what else did you pick up from the understanding your credit for kids? It appears that you found this topic extremely exciting. Not really? All right. Did it help you to understand that everyone can get one free credit report every year to check yourself? Yes, Miss Mia?
So is that kind of why it's such a big deal? Like I see commercials and stuff for like Credit Karma and stuff that lets you check it for free. Is that why places like that are such a big deal? Because normally you would only you'd have to pay for it. You'd only get it free once a year, but this you can check free all the time.
Yes. It is. And it's important to at least be aware, because if you have identity theft, like Samuel had to do a report on, people can take out credit cards in your name. And because it's your name and your credit card, you are responsible for paying their bill.
The thing with credit cards is like you can't get a loan if you have a really low credit score or anything. In some places that you really have to have the credit score, and some you don't.
Mhm.
Like renting a house, for instance, or buying a house, or not buying a house, just renting a house, a car.
Absolutely. And when you go to a place, like you'll drive down the road and you'll see a car dealership that says no credit check required. And what they're saying, what they do is if it did require a credit score, they would see how high your credit score is to give you a lower interest rate. So you would save money over the course of the loan. When they don't run your credit check, then they will typically offer you a much higher percentage rate. So you pay a lot more for the same thing than someone who had a better credit score than you do. And there are apartments that will not rent to you if you do not have a certain high credit score. Like the world has kind of shifted its way towards using the credit score as an indicator of whether you're trustworthy, which is an interesting idea. Now, switch over to the living without a credit score from Ramsey Solutions, the second article you were supposed to read. What was startling, or what did you learn from that?
Cricket.
The fact that you can live without directly contradicts the last thing that we talked about and all of my core beliefs that my parents have instilled into me.
Miss Kenna?
Your bank account is your measuring tool instead of your credit score. So when you spend your money, you know exactly how much you have, and you're spending money that you've already made. You're not spending you're not spending money that you don't have.
Miss Wren?
Actually,
So there was a study done about like the emotional feeling when you spend money depending on whether you use cash, your debit card, or your credit card. And like it's physically painful when you use cash because you're literally handing your money over. And your debit card, people feel less emotion, but it's still a strong emotion. And credit cards, people barely feel any emotion when they use them. Like to the emotional attachment of like they're using money, it doesn't quite go off in their brain. So I think it's kind of funny that we measure all this stuff by how your ability to repay debt is basically what your credit card score is. And so we're like, and it makes sense because then you know, like renters especially, then you know that they're able to pay back stuff. Like they make payments regularly, etc. But it's a little weird.
Absolutely.
I saw this. It actually said that most apartments, it doesn't matter about your credit score. They ask for a first month and last month's deposit before you start renting. And then that kind of like secures it, because if you miss a month of payment, they'll just take that out.
And then you get all of your stuff dumped out on the sidewalk in front if you don't pay. It's a thing. So, when you all were talking to your families, did any of you talk to your families about these two conflicting ideas? All right, what did they say?
We didn't talk about the confliction exactly. We just talked in the past about credit and debt. and how they did the Dave Ramsey stuff. So they were teaching us how to use the Dave Ramsey principles. And yeah.
I can go.
Okay.
I did my grandma because that's who I'm with right now. So she said if you use a credit card, you should only use money that you know you can pay back, so you don't go into debt. Always have 3 months of income for savings just in case of emergency. She said don't invest or buy I bonds or a savings account unless you have the money, and have a budget for life expenses and stick to it if you can, and keep track of your money.
Awesome. Who else?
Mine basically said the same thing.
Who did you ask?
My parents, well, my mom.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because I'm curious about different generations. So Chase, your grandma is one generation. Tyler, your mom is another generation. Did we get any opinions from any other generations? Miss Mia?
So we asked our grandparents and one of our friends, and she's 20 something, I'm pretty sure. And so she's kind of younger. And her advice was to open a 401k the minute you get your first job. And I don't really understand what that means, but that was what she said. If she could go back and tell her teenager self one piece of financial advice, that's what she said she would say. So
Okay. Does anyone know what a 401k is? All right, someone, Ren, you're nodding. What's a 401k?
That's your retirement. Basically, it's like, so you put money towards it throughout your life, and then it opens up at a certain age and you can begin like taking back out that money slowly, but it has an interest to it. It's kind of like an investment, and then it pays back once you hit a certain age. Usually it's through your job. Sometimes depends on whether you're self-employed or if you work for somebody else. It's a whole thing. It's a thing.
And who knows who sponsors a 401k? Chase.
I don't know who sponsored it, but my grandma did that, and it's actually not very much worth it because the money you put in, you don't get back. Like my grandpa, he died when he was like 70, and he would have had to live till he was like 90 something to get his money back.
Okay, Ren?
Different people sponsor it. There's a few like large, not businesses, but large companies that usually they invest in through your 401k, and that's what sponsors it.
Mhm.
It,
And
depending on the
backs it up. The government, the United States government regulates it through the Internal Revenue Service. Or actually, that's a lie. They regulate it through the Department of Treasury. Miss Taylor?
My dad has one set up, his retirement set up with the fire department. So I don't know if that's a sponsor really or.
Well, so what's happening is what Ren was saying, in that your dad is paying in a certain amount every single month out of every single paycheck. And his employer is matching it or adding a percentage to it every time. And so what will happen is the same thing that you experienced with your compound interest exercise last class, where you get a little bit more every single time and then it just grows and grows and grows. That is what they're talking about. And that's why Mia and Maggie's friend said, from the very first moment you can save, start saving. Because for things like that, just the longevity of how long you have it going is going to make a pretty significant, I mean, thousands of dollars, if not $1 million of an impact. They say that if you max out your 401k, and I can't remember what that total is for right now, it changes. But there's a certain amount that is the most that you can contribute every year. And if you max that out from the first time that you're able, you will reach millionaire status by the end of your working career. Whether you can access it without consequences, like what Chase is saying, that's a real thing, but the money will continue to accumulate as you go. Ren, is your hand up? Okay.
Oh, it was my mom's big thing. It wasn't about the 401k, but it was about saving early and saving well for a long period of time because it does add up. And about the 401k, I know I have a friend who she's in her 60s and she wants to retire early. And since she's a nurse, they'll only give her parts of her paid retirement because she's retiring like 3 years earlier than they require for that policy. They'll only let her take out parts of it at a time.
Absolutely. Kenna?
That's something my dad said when I asked him if he had known what he knows now as a teenager, what he would have done. And he said he would have started his retirement plan a lot sooner and he would have bought like Apple and Verizon and Tesla and things like that.
Mm-hmm. We actually are friends with someone who worked for the software company that became Apple. And he bought shares and gets to write his own ticket today because of the shares he bought when he was 22 years old. And it was just part of what you got when you worked for that software company. So what other, any other pieces of advice that we haven't heard yet? Miss Mia?
I don't know if anyone said this, but the other big piece of advice we got was, well, save obviously, but spend your money wisely. So if you do spend, or don't spend it quickly. So before you buy something big, think about it, because if you're still thinking about it a week later, then it shows that it might have some importance. Or only buy what you need. Like if you need a car to get to work, then buy a car, but it doesn't have to be the nicest, newest model. It just has to be something to get you there. So spend your money wisely, because then once you have money, then you can think about gum and coffee and the fun stuff. But think about spending it wisely first and think before you spend it.
Absolutely.
My grandma says if you need or want something and you can't afford it, the best things to get in life are the ones you have to wait for.
Absolutely. Kenna?
Something my mom said too was she would have put more in savings sooner and then obviously spent her money more wisely and not on things that she didn't need at the time.
As to what Chase said, another good quote is good things come to those who wait.
What do you think is being developed in a human being when they have to wait? Is there a character trait that is happening there? What is that?
You're more excited for the thing that you want.
Mm-hmm.
You'll also work harder.
Mm-hmm. Kenna?
Patience and perseverance.
Absolutely. There's a spiritual discipline, or a spiritual fruit of the spirit if you're a Christian. Patience and self-control, I see that from Lydia. The idea of discipline is one that is worth at least bringing up, that if you train yourself to control your desires, you are gaining in discipline and self-discipline. And there are so many studies that say that if you can control yourself, you will end up in a better spot because you're disciplined and intentional with what you're doing. So, okay, let's see. Any other thoughts? Any other pieces of information that we have not talked about? I'd love to hear the wisdom of other people.
No, but something cool is back then you couldn't get a credit card till you were 21 years old.
Yeah, well, so my dad, he was born in 1929, and they did not even have credit cards available until the late 1950s. It wasn't even something that existed. And so he was a young man when he got the very first Visa card. And his Visa card number is like 000000000. Like, it was really crazy to me because they started with all 16 of those digits started at a 0 and then they moved up over time. So just an interesting little thing. And that's why the generational piece, some generations grew up with no credit access at all. Your generation will grow up with a lot of credit card access, and it has proven to be a real detriment to a lot of people in my generation, or Dave Ramsey would not exist. So, okay. So understanding credit, I guess that all I want to say is the takeaway from the understanding credit thing is realize that there is actually controversy over this idea, and make sure that you explore that and become knowledgeable before you ever make a decision one way or the other about credit. That's the whole point of that, is know that there's two sides of the story and they're both pretty darn valid. So make wise choices yourself. Okay, let's take a look at our action card assignments. Are you ready for this? Samuel's not here today. Fine, we don't get to hear his action card assignment. Taylor, tell us about what you learned.
My washer
This would be
overflowed.
boring anyways.
Her washer
My
overflowed
washer overflowed. That's so boring, but
with bubbles.
with bubbles, there was lots of bubbles.
Not the bubbles.
Insurance can help with a lot of things. Unexpected events and disasters happen all the time, which is why homeowners must be prepared. Most insurance covers anything from fire to theft, but it does vary depending on who you go through. Most appliances and even outdoor furniture can also be covered, but the higher the risk or more expensive the things are, it may cost an extra liability insurance payment. I found that interesting that there are different kinds of payments you can have for your insurance. In most cases, the company is unable to pay the full price to replace damaged property, which is why it's always good to have a backup plan in case of emergencies. Value cost versus replacement cost is another point that can determine what is covered and what isn't. Value cost can make it so they only pay what the thing is worth at the exact time. That includes deductions for wear and tear, rust, age, and overall condition. So basically, if your microwave exploded, but it's like 10 years old, they won't pay the full price for a new one because it's 10 years old and it exploded. Replacement is when they pay for it to be bought new despite its current state. In some cases, you can even get help with dog bites. If your dog bit your guest, your insurance company can help. It's placed under the liability insurance. Yeah, I found that interesting. There's different kinds of insurance and different ways that they can pay depending on what you chose. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
Oh, thank you for sharing, Taylor. We appreciate your insight. Mr. Ryan, tell us about yours.
Okay. So I got food poisoned. Yay. So on average, 48 million people get food poisoned a year. And around 3,000 people die from it. And the cost to stay at, or the average cost to stay at a hotel overnight was like $11,000.
A hospital?
Yeah, sorry, hospital. And then I searched up some of the health inspectors, like McDonald's is public health, and Wendy's is Springfield inspects. And my sources were leaders.com and whatever that one is.
Okay, thank you. Miss Kenna.
This thing just like I lose it every single time. Okay. Kid draws on furniture. By the way, he was severely disciplined for this. He didn't get his tablet for 3 weeks. Yes. How often should you deep clean your furniture and or carpets? And what is the cost of buying versus renting your equipment? Depending on if you have pets, children, and or visitors often, you may need to clean your furniture in your house more often. If you do and your house tends to be more busy, then you should think about furniture and carpet cleans 3 to 4 times a year. If you do not and you have if you don't have a good amount of traffic going through your house, then once or twice a year is probably a good amount. Carpet cleanings usually cost $122 to $235, with the average being $178. Furniture cleanings, please stop, Taylor. Furniture cleanings can be expensive. They can be as much as $500 or as cheap as $10, depending on what they're cleaning and how bad it is. Renting furniture can cost as little as $10 and a month, and could also cost as much as $200 a month. These numbers can change based on what you're renting and how you give the furniture back after you're done renting it, like what the conditions are. Some studies have shown that 84% of Americans buy their furniture new and 16% rent furniture. As you can see, most people prefer to buy instead of rent. Buying can be smart. Buying may be smarter for your financial situation, or you may not be concerned about that, and renting may be the way to go for you. My sources were pewresearch.org and furnituretoday.com.
Thank you. All right, Miss Maggie.
Okay. I got researching basketball referees, and I found that very interesting. So some basketball referees can get up to $31,070 a year, which is about $18 or more each game. But what I found very interesting is that for NBA refs, they can earn $3,000 a game. Well, $3,000 to $8,000 a game. So that means that they earn about $180,000 to $500,000, $180,000 to $500,000 a year. I found that there are a couple of classes that you can take for refs here, and for basketball referees, there's like 4 levels, and you start at level 1, and each year you can choose to move up a level if you're qualified. And the basketball refereeing training course for Arizona is refschool.org. And my sources are refschool.org, becomeareferee.com, en.as.com, and ziprecruiter.com.
Okay, thank you, Maggie. Miss Lydia, are you in a spot where you can do audio?
I don't have my action card thing ready because I was super busy yesterday and was barely at home at all.
Okay.
So, sorry.
That's okay. We'll get it the next time. Miss Mia.
Give me 1 second.
Sorry, she's getting it uploaded.
Okay.
Sorry, we're getting it working.
Okay. So I was supposed to say this week what happens and how often treasure is found by random people, like on the beach. So there are different ways of digging for gold. You can use a metal detector, which accounts for the majority of lucky finds all over the world. You could also do it like an archaeological dig, which has also uncovered amazing artifacts, or maybe you'll be the one lucky person who comes across a million-year-old good while walking on the beach. Metal detector finds account for 92.7% of all lucky uncoverings. 3.4% would be from archaeological digs, and only 1.7% comes from people like you and me getting extremely lucky. So now let's just say that you're part of that 1.7% of people and you find something special on a family outing. Can you keep it? Now, there's always the option of just never telling anyone. If no one knows, then it can't cause any trouble, right? In some cases. But if you want to take it to get observed to deem its value, that could cause some issues legally. If you plan on anyone seeing it at all, you're probably going to want to do something different than just take it home. And this also depends on what the find is. If you find a wallet, a necklace, a bracelet, or something else that seems like it could be someone else's personal belonging, the right thing to do is first look around to see if you can maybe find who it came from. Maybe they're still on the beach or the trail or whatever. Oftentimes these things have IDs or names on them that you can use to try and find the owner. But if you can't find anyone, the next thing you can do is put it in the local newspaper, post it on social media, or just tell your friends and try and get the word out to people. You can also do some research on the items to see if they may have any historical value. If there's any question, you should definitely take it to get observed. You could even take it to a local pawn shop, because they usually have recommendations for bigger places that you could take it to afterwards. Obviously, if it turns out to be real and worth something, that's when the law can get involved. It is a very complicated process when that happens, and a good majority of lawyers have to study up on how the law protects historical artifacts and how legal finders keepers really works, and how legal finders keepers really is. This also has a lot of variables, like if the original owner can be tracked, if he or she is still alive, what time period that person came from, or how old the artifact is, and the role that that person played in society, meaning that if he or she was famous or just a normal person, also will deem the value of the item and whether legally it should be taken away to be put in a museum or something like that. So that was what I found.
Okay, thank you. Rin, you're up.
All right. So I discovered some interesting things. I will say the one thing that I was disappointed that I couldn't find was a direct chart comparing the cost of your healthcare without insurance and your healthcare with insurance. There is a difference, but I couldn't find a chart and it was sad. Anyway, so I had to go to the doctor's office, which I don't like going to doctor's offices, so it's kind of sad. So I discovered that on average, the normal American goes to the doctor approximately 4 times a year. And that study was including dentists and stuff like that. TV dentist, your doctor, probably an eye doctor's visit, and one other thing. Versus other places which have broader healthcare systems that go In Japan, it's like 13 times a year, which I thought was very strange. Apparently, Americans don't like doctors. We avoid them. But mostly it's because they have health insurance that's higher, like the state pays for more. Well, because they take it out of your taxes, versus here, which they don't take as much out, and you have to pay for your healthcare. So your healthcare bill for going to the doctor at least once a year, and this is just the doctor's office, depends on how old you are. The older you get, the higher it goes up. For younger children under 5, it's also higher because you have to go back more regularly, especially if you have a newborn. At least you should, technically. I had a chart. I'm trying to look for it. So, cumulatively, by the time you're under 5, it's roughly a $10,000 medical bill total with all your appointments and everything for kids under 5. It is the cheapest for kids 5 to 17, and it's a $24,000 thing. That's an average is spent by the time from 5 to 17. And then 18 to 44 is $80,000 bill. 45 to 64 is 128,000, and above 65 is 169,000 roughly. So it just keeps going up. And I also found out the medical costs of like an average exam and just of doing a few things each year that you'd normally do has continued to go up, along with the cost of health care insurance, which has also gone up. It has almost doubled since 1990 something, 1992. That's an average, but it has almost doubled and it continues to go up. And the concern is that it will hit a point where it's actually growing faster than the cost of inflation, which it's almost at right now. So I found another chart that showed if it went above 3% faster than inflation, you spend almost $7 million on healthcare throughout your entire life. And a basic exam to go to the doctor, they check your eyes, they do a physical, and if you have something wacky going on, they'll do blood work. They check your eyes, they do a physical, they make sure you're healthy, and then they ask general questions and make sure you don't have anything majorly mental going on. It's their basic line. Usually with younger kids, they'll do your regular shots and everything as well. So an average doctor's visit costs anywhere between $160 to $350, depending on what you're having done. That's a general, like, a yearly thing per person. And so that was without insurance, by the way. Anyway, it was very interesting. I learned a lot.
All right, thank you. All right, Elijah.
Okay. So I got carpet destroyed by pet. And I was supposed to research how common it is for pets to do damage to your house and how often these damages are claimed on homeowners insurance. So what I found out was that often damage your pets do to your house or belongings is actually not covered by insurance. Although you can sometimes see about getting that added, but often they're not actually covered. So sometimes you can't claim it on the homeowner's insurance at all. But the articles I was reading said that there were basically pets do a lot of damage to your house and that it will make it harder to resell the house if it looks like it's had pets in it. But often, since that won't be covered on the insurance, there's not much you can do. And I think that's pretty much what I found out.
All right. Thank you, sir. Case?
How to have a positive rep. Do what you say you're gonna do. Help others reach their goals. Be humble about what you do. Make others work good. Do more than what you're expected to do. Have integrity. Look the part of the job. Don't look like a bum. Have good body language. Don't act like you don't want to be there. Be consistent with your work and get engaged or involved with the community you're in. Have a positive attitude.
Okay. All right, thank you. Tyler, it looks like you're bringing up the rear. Last one of the day.
Hooray. Okay. Okay. Basically what I found out, the government makes a ton of money off of local taxes and funds. They get a lot of money from gas taxes and stuff like that. In 2017, the government actually made over $44 million in revenue from just taxes, or from gas taxes. So I thought that was pretty crazy, just from, yeah. And then they make a lot of money from just funds and other stuff like that by from citizens giving donations. And that's about it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's take a look at what next week is gonna be. Let me see that. I'd get myself ready to write everything down. Okay. What do you want to do? Alphabetical? Just randomly?
Backwards alphabetical.
Backwards?
Random.
Oh goodness, there's a fight
No,
here.
no.
My voice.
Yeah.
Backwards. We've gone backwards the last like 3 weeks.
Yeah, Tyler just wants
True,
to know
true.
first, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Random.
Yes.
Well, no one else says anything.
You should do it based off of who's on your screen.
I have a chart, and I'm gonna do the second in a row and then over. So I'm gonna start with Elijah. So, are you ready, Elijah? Serendipity, you found an ancient artifact. Collect 60,000 from the bank.
I was just going to ask, is it possible to buy an action card?
I don't have it set up right now. Which action card would you like? I'm just curious.
I was reading the new action cards. I found the one coin collector.
You
And
want
that
it?
is a report I would love to do.
All right, we're gonna have to send up a prayer right now that your wishes and my drawing match up. Okay, so for Elijah, research Saga Vanashek, a girl who found an ancient Viking sword in Sweden. What benefit did she gain from her find? All right, the next one is Mia. Breed a litter of puppies. Sell to each player for 10,000 each.
You guys all get puppies. Get You're welcome. I'm naming mine Cadet, and it's a border collie.
What kind of dogs are they?
They're border collie puppies.
Okay.
All right.
I want a husky though.
Can I use mine for target practice?
All right, let's see. Your actual thing is research whether breeding animals is an ethical and economical good choice.
I lost 10,000, correct?
Everyone pays me a 10,000 for their puppy.
And I bought mine for
It's
400.
Water probably so expensive, geez.
All right, Taylor,
Riches for Ryan.
you are a tornado chaser. Pay
Ooh,
$20,000 to the bank.
That's even more.
And research the average cost of installing a safe room in your house. What are the reasons one might want a safe room? Or a storm shelter, I guess. I'm going to add that here. Kenna, you are a gem finder. Collect $10,000 from the bank. How much money can rock hounds get from their finds? Where are the most lucrative areas to search for gems? Ryan? Report a crime. Collect $10,000 from each player.
How?
That's what I needed.
All right. Have to write these things down as I go because some of you forget to write it down yourselves. Research when anonymous tipster lines are used and the ability to be rewarded for tips given to the authorities. Okay, Tyler, you're next. Visit the dog park.
with your
With a
brand
new
new
puppy.
Brand new
It's
puppy.
perfect.
I need to look at this because the wording, I made a typo on it. Pay $10,000 to the bank. I've got
That's
it.
an expensive dog park.
Here, Ryan, do you want that card?
It's a bougie dog.
No, not really.
I will pay you 20 grand if you want it.
It's
Alright.
a very bougie dog park.
Research the costs and rules associated with licensing your pet in the area. Found a typo on my action card. All right, next is
Come on.
Lydia. Fill your freezer. Collect $20,000 from the bank.
When did she lose money? What?
You've been
Yeah.
drawn for a hunting tag. What is the most popular tag sold in your area? What does it cost? Are there other typical costs associated with the hunt? What is the typical amount of meat gained in a hunt? And is hunting cost effective?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Was I shooting with a bow and arrow or a gun?
I think you have the choice to do whatever you'd prefer on this one.
That would be archery then.
I
Why
wanna
is that a question?
that.
Could be fun, right? Was there another question?
Did you trick shot it?
Ooh, she could
What
win
do
a
you mean?
competition.
360 no scope.
Okay, Ren, point system, pay $10,000 to the bank. Let me research that. Research the point system for driver's licenses. Does your area offer the ability to take classes to avoid getting points on your license? How much do those classes typically cost? So if you get a speeding ticket, it results in points on your driver's license. That's the points we're talking about here. Chase, Babysitters Club. Pay $10,000 to the bank. Research the topics in a babysitting class. Is this certification worth the extra money earned for babysitting? Why or why not? Maggie. Move out. Draw a new housing card and pay the cost difference to the bank, to or from the bank.
Maggie, you're going deeper and deeper.
All right, Maggie, what is your current house and how many do you have to have for occupancy?
Mine's the farmhouse and I have 7 people.
Okay. You have 4 choices here.
Maybe you'll get the farmhouse again. Just a different farmhouse.
Grandma's house, the cabana, mansion, and the family house. You can still fit. Good news. The family house is 120,000. How much were you paying before? What were you on?
80,000.
I was on the farmhouse.
It's part of the mansion. Just get the family house.
You were on the farmhouse? Okay, so you were paying 100,000. Now you have to pay 20,000 extra to the bank for the family house. So what that means is your action card is going to cost you $20,000 this week. And then next week, you will be at the family house unless you draw for housing switch. Does that make sense? You're so happy.
Oh, you got
And this one is again, research how to make friends in your new neighborhood. Samuel is not here with us, but he is a road warrior and he has to pay $20,000 to the bank. And that is research the cost of work commutes. Consider gas as well as vehicle wear and tear. When does it make sense to pay more for near housing? Okay. So we've got, everyone got an action card, right? There's wild hand movements. Are these waves or because you want my attention?
My sisters.
They're waves.
I got a headache card.
All right. Now that action cards are done, does anyone need to draw for a new career?
Taylor, I think you should. I know you don't want to, but I
Yes, Taylor,
probably
you do.
should.
All right, can I roll for a new career?
Okay.
So
It's called
boring.
character development, and I hate it.
What are you right now at, Taylor?
I'm an, I'm an actor, not whatever demonic thing she just said.
Okay, you have choices. You can be a chef. You have 5 choices. I rolled a 5. A veterinarian, a doctor, a customer service representative, or a scientist.
Be a doctor. Join the club.
Be a
Customer
chef.
service representative.
I'm going to let you think about that for a minute and then give me your final answer. Does anyone else need to roll for a new career? Okay. Does anyone else need to?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't want to roll for a new career because I have a good one. But I was wondering, are there any more fired cards in the stack of action cards?
Brian got all of them, but I'm not sure.
I got
All
one.
of them except for one. Chase got one.
Chase got one. Okay.
Well, I got a
think
fired
that's
card
all
too.
of them.
I also got a fired card. I got the one for posting online.
Okay. So
Maybe
I got a
just-
promotion.
Before you had a house, I think.
Are you gonna
We
are
had
you
to
gonna
draw a
add
different action
more?
card for you, and Ryan ended up redrawing it.
Add more fired cards.
I know, right? No, don't.
Make a
I
fire
I'm
swear.
not
card that
planning to
says-
add anything extra right now.
Make a
So I
fire
was
card that
wondering
says
if you-
for Ryan. And if it gets drawed, you just have to give it to Ryan.
I was wondering if,
You have
I
something
was just
against me?
wondering
Hey,
if,
I need to hear Lydia.
I was just wondering if there are any more in the stack or if you were gonna add any more, because then I might be able to work out a deal with giving someone my last career role if I have another one.
I will have to.
If there
look at
aren't
it.
any
I
more
don't
fire
know right
cards.
now.
What?
I don't know if there are any more. So, yeah.
There's only 4. So
Knowing Ryan's luck, there probably is more.
I know,
Okay.
right?
Does anyone need to roll for new housing? Taylor, have you made your decision?
I'm going to be a doctor.
Okay, so this will be recorded on week 10. So next week you will have, so you get charged $10,000 for this week because it's your action card. Or it's an action card type thing. So the $10,000 for the school goes this week. Next week, you have the doctor's salary. So you'll change it there.
More in debt.
Isn't the school 100,000?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said 10,000.
Well, I lied. It's 100,000.
Okay.
I was confused. I don't have an answer.
I was
for
gonna
that.
say.
That's not right. It's 100,000. Okay. Would anyone like to switch from one salary to 2 salaries or vice versa? Okay. I think that means that we are set as far as all of the shifting and everything else. Is that correct? Oh, Lydia has a question.
Is there any chance that on one of the very last weeks, the kids could get, like a salary because they would be older by then?
It's not written into this game right now. Miss Maggie?
They'd only be 10.
So because I got a new house, am I not allowed to choose a different? Am I not allowed to roll for a new house this
We
week?
could, not this week. Next week.
If you wanted to roll for a new house, that's like, you got that as an action card. So I think we could have you roll for a new house if you want.
Can I roll for a new house?
Mhm. And then if you choose it, you choose it. And if not, oh, you just got 6. That's good. All right. Cabana, grandma's house, tiny house, looking good, Maggie. Farmhouse, spooky shack, or tree house.
To the treehouse.
I don't think she could fit in the treehouse.
Can I go
All of our
back to
kids
the
would
farmhouse?
love it.
You can.
You got so lucky.
Okay, so
Samuel's
you're
been rolling for
still,
7 weeks.
you still have to pay the $20,000 difference, but then
Yeah.
we move you back to the farmhouse. Oh, wait. Is that what you said? Farmhouse.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're back to that.
Mhm.
Miss Taylor,
What about sports for our children? and,
No.
Like extracurriculars.
so one of the action cards is that, and Ryan got it last week, right? Wasn't that what you had to research?
No, I got, what was it? Lessons, like, yeah,
Lesson.
you get,
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. Next class period on Tuesday, we're going to be talking about discretionary spending and hobbies. There are 3 articles to read. They're short, and it's about people using pennies. And then you will go through your normal stuff. You now have added your annual savings calculator. So when you take a look at the whatchamacallit, the spreadsheet, you'll see that that's included in there. And make sure that you're asking if you have any questions, okay? All right, that's all I have to say. We're ending right on time right now. Have a great day.
Enjoy your puppy.
Wait. Before we leave, I give 50,000 to Ryan.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bye.
Ryan, do you accept that?
yes.
Riches for Ryan has been prosperous.
Okay,
Taylor,
bye.
why are you doing this to me?
I give 25
Yes, I
grand of that
can.
to Taylor.
Okay, what just
What?
happened? Ryan gave 25,000 to Taylor?
Come
No,
on,
I
Ken, are
think
you gonna
Taylor
match
did.
it? Are you gonna double it?
Wait, what?
Ooh,
I give.
Taylor, do you accept that 25?
I
I
know.
make 100,000
Give
every
money
year,
to
so I can go
Maggie,
another
don't
50,000.
Play into his stupid little competition game. Vote.
I give
Okay, well, then I give
60,000
50,000 to Maggie.
Maya.
Tyler.
Tyler.
Tyler, you're
is
such a
that
good
for
person,
real?
but you're such a bad person.
I don't need money.
I give
Wow,
60,000 to Maggie.
6 children are just gonna starve.
Hold on, Maggie, do you accept Tyler's 50,000?
Yes,
I have
they
like
are.
400,000. Fine.
Maggie, do you
Emily,
accept Tyler's
Emily.
50,000?
Please
No.
no.
Sure.
Okay,
I give 60,000 to Maggie.
She killed me.
She killed me.
You're fine, you little woman.
okay. Have we all finished our compassion giving?
I
Yes.
It's
mean,
definitely competitive.
maybe.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I'll see you on
Bye.
Tuesday and I hope you have a great weekend.
Bad for
Bye.
your
Bye.
Bye.
For you.
Bye.